Hey everyone, it's Julie B here, just getting some technical things worked out and going live today. But I just wanted to give you all some updates about the launch week for my book, Burnt. And I get a lot of questions about the behind the scenes of publishing a book and specifically working with a traditional publisher. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. And I've got a couple of events coming up this week where you can also catch some of that insider information. But if you do me a favor, in the description of this video, there will be a link to purchase this book on Amazon. And if you can purchase my book, if you haven't done so already, if you have, thank you very much. Very, very exciting time for me. But if you haven't, go ahead and please purchase it. And if you can purchase the hardback book, that'd be great. Long story about that is it basically helps me get onto bestseller lists. That's what a lot of the bestseller lists look at, is how many hardback versions of the book do you sell. And so that really, really helps get on Amazon bestseller list, and also things like, the dream goal is the New York Times bestseller list, and there are other ones like Barnes and Noble. Just there's several ones, and it also can help me down the line with winning some awards that my publisher will put me up for. So anyways, if you're just joining us, I'm Julie B, and I am talking about launch week of my very first book, Burned. And we are going to talk about just what has happened thus far. It literally just launched yesterday, Tuesday, June 18th. So today is Wednesday, the 19th. And it just seems crazy that for the longest time, I signed my contract with my publisher back in July of 2022. And I have been waiting for, I felt like I'd been waiting for yesterday forever, and it came and went. And I was very aware of how important yesterday was, and also just, the journey doesn't end here. It's really just beginning for you all who are reading Burned and learning about burnout and learning how to deal with it as a business owner and as a leader, with some step-by-step, very practical guidance in here. I often joke that when you are a leader, by the time you are kind of just tired of talking about what you're doing, that's when a lot of people are first kind of getting it and experiencing it and understanding. And so it's interesting. I've kind of had that moment of like, this book has been very real for me it's been real for me since October of 2021, when I started writing it, but it's taken 2.5 years for it to feel like it's very real for you. So if you haven't purchased it yet, please do so. Support your local business owners. Every author, no matter what, no matter who you are, when you become an author, you become an entrepreneur. That's just kind of how it works. And it's just a very interesting process. But I wanted to just share something really exciting that happened last week. So last week, or maybe it was the week before last, I knew. So a while ago, there's publishing is such a weird thing when you're working with a traditional publisher, but my traditional publisher brought in an audiobook publisher. And so the audiobook publisher is who was going to produce the audiobook. And I just kind of had assumed that I wasn't getting the role of narrator in my own audiobook, which I was bummed out about, but I thought that it was going to be released at the same time as the print book, but it's not being, obviously. It's a whole thing. Like, I don't even have enough time to talk about just this one part of publishing with a traditional publisher. But the exciting news that I want to share is that I got the contract to narrate my own book. So I will be going into the studio soon, hopefully in the month of July, to narrate Burned. And it is an intensive process. The audio company, the audiobook publisher told me to anticipate 3 full days in studio and then 1 day for edits and corrections. So it's basically like a week of going in and reading your book, from what I understand. So I'm waiting to get the dates, but I got the contract signed, and I actually am getting, it's really cool. I get paid to be a narrator. So not only am I paid published author now. Very soon, I'm going to be a paid voice narrator, audiobook narrator. I don't even know what you call that, but I guess audiobook narrator. So that was really exciting, and that's kind of the that's been the that's been the trajectory and the path of this whole being a traditionally published author thing. Because if you followed along at all with any of my videos, sometimes I'm very surprised and very much so like, what is even happening? I just get really excited about some of these major things that sometimes I knew something was happening with it, but I wasn't quite sure what the thing was. Like I knew somebody was going to read my audiobook, but I didn't know how that whole process worked. And then sometimes it's like a whole process that I'd never even realized was a process that shows up. And what's funny is there's this saying that act like you've been there before, and I'm like the worst at acting like I've been there before, especially when it's something new and something exciting, and especially when I'm learning about an industry, like a whole different business model and an industry and how all of that works. It's very interesting. One of these days, who knows, maybe I'll offer a course or a class or a talk about the whole thing. But I know, like, even sitting in this moment, the day after my book has come out, the day after it was on shelves, I got a picture from my publisher. It's on the shelves out in Portland, Oregon at Powell's Bookstore. If you're familiar with independent bookstores, you will recognize that name. It's kind of like America's bookstore. That was crazy exciting to see that on an end cap, nonetheless, at eye level. So the fact that my publisher got me in there, holy cow, that like made my day yesterday, and that was early on in the day when that happened. And then I had a virtual launch party, which was awesome. Molly Barker and Trish Samon came and spoke, and we talked about burnout. We talked about the book. And it was just really cool to hear what their favorite parts of the book were and what my favorite part of the book is. And then even like it's just yesterday and even continuing into today, these are some of the best days I've ever had as a business owner. Like I feel really appreciated and affirmed, and it's just been a really great experience to have that. And tomorrow I'm going to do a live where I talk about I finally asked my publisher why he chose me, why he signed me to a deal, how that actually happened in his brain. And I'm going to share some of that tomorrow. And then on Friday I'm going to do a live about my next book. So there's a lot of fun stuff coming up, and I want you to stay tuned. But I'm asking for your support to buy my book. On Amazon, it's actually at $22 right now. So they're running like a first week sale special, I guess. I don't have any control over that. Like I have no idea how any of that works, which maybe at some point I will. But if you haven't purchased it yet, there's a link in the description to this video. Make sure you get it. And then also make sure you sign up for all the bonuses on my website. There's like $2,000 worth of bonus content that I created that isn't in this book, that can help you read through this book, including a workbook to use while you're going through the things in this book and Burned and other just in other, it's a lot of other helpful content. Like there's a course, there's actually 2 courses. I have a PDF in there in the bonus material about how I landed a book deal and a little bit of the timeline, just the highlights of the timeline that I've had thus far. It's one of the questions I get asked the most, is about the publishing process. And, the other question I get asked a lot is why burnout? And that goes back to my roots in West Virginia. I grew up in a town in West Virginia, small town. Most towns in West Virginia are small towns. And, I learned at an early age that the people who were held in high regard, and more than that, they're the people that really made the community tick. The people who were there when a T-ball team needed sponsored, or there was a food drive, or, so there was an event at a school that needed to be sponsored. The people who showed up all the time were business owners. And they were really held in really very high regard in my small town. And I didn't realize that until later on, that that's who they were. But my point in that is small business owners make communities, entrepreneurs make local communities what they are. And the reason I wrote Burned, obviously one reason was to help business owners with burnout, but the really deep why for me was to protect our local communities. Because if we don't have business owners, if our business owners are burning out, we're not going to have local communities that are thriving. We're not going to have those fun local restaurants. We're not going to have those fun establishments, or even like not even the establishments we rely on, lawn care, daycare, all of those types of things. Most of them are small business owners. So it's really important for me to I feel like really called to share that story, and also try to figure out how to help business owners so that they don't burn out, so that they can continue to contribute to the local communities in all kinds of ways, whether it's financial, volunteer time, or, even paying employees who live in the local communities. That goes back into our areas and helps our areas thrive. So it's a whole ecosystem, and I'm just kind of getting started on it. But that's really the underlying deep why of why I wrote this book. So, anyways, this week has been great so far. I want to ask you one more time: make sure you buy my book if you haven't done so already. If you have, buy it for somebody else. A lot of people are burned out from what I'm learning. In fact, I've had a lot of people say I should have just taken this first line off the subtitle and call it "How People Can Overcome Burnout and Fuel Success," because it's apparently not just for business owners. It's for, a lot of people can read it and get a lot out of it. So love for you to support me in that way. If you have any questions about the publishing process, it's a lot of fun to talk about. I'm realizing that, not a lot of people go through the process like I've gone through it. And to be perfectly honest, traditional publishing isn't for everybody. I think, the idea of getting a book deal with a traditional publisher, there's an allure to that. I don't know, there's like a mystical part of that, but it's not the thing for everybody. And, that's one thing that I actually talk about a lot when people ask me about it is, I try to help them figure out like which route they should go, because it's tough. I mean, I'm dedicating 5 years of my life to this book. So that's the first thing is if you're going to traditionally publish, you got to kind of think in decade type terms. You want to make sure you're talking about something you can talk about a decade from now. That's another piece of advice I give people. So, but anyways, I'm rocking and rolling. Yesterday was the virtual book launch, which was awesome. And the book is out finally. I'm saying order it, no longer pre-order. It's order the book and it'll show up at your house in a couple of days. And yeah, man, I'm just on my mission to make sure small businesses and entrepreneurs, just to eradicate entrepreneurial burnout. That's really what I want to do. And the reason behind it is to protect our local communities, to keep our local communities awesome, basically, to keep that diversity in our local communities, to make sure, we have options other than big, huge, big box stores or chain stores, because there's nothing wrong with them. I mean, I like an Olive Garden trip just as much as the next person, but I also like knowing that I've got a local place that I can go to as well that's, run by family and locally owned and operated. So that's what I got for today. Getting the audio book deal, that was a lot of fun. So at some point, I'm not even quite sure yet, like when it's going to come out. I guess when I record, that'll dictate when the audiobook is available. Some of you asked me about that, but I can finally say, yes, I am going to narrate it. And it is coming out at some point. Hopefully, I'm hoping by August, September at the latest, but we'll just see. I don't know. I don't know the process. So we'll find out. You'll find out right along with me. So until tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. But tomorrow I'm going to do a live at, I believe, 1 p.m. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to tell you all what my publisher told me when I asked him why he chose me, why I was one that got the contract. And then I'm going to talk about cold calling Barnes and Noble, because I did that this week. I mean, that was something, these are just things that you do as a published author. So with that, I just want to thank everybody. I know a couple of you are on here. I want to thank everyone who's watching, everybody who has supported me thus far. more is to come. I will be asking you very soon to leave a review on Amazon or on Goodreads, and I'll also be asking you to share your favorite parts of the book with me, and also share photos. I got some fun photos in yesterday. I actually have a picture of a cat reading my book, so that's good. I'll share that on social at some point soon. So it's been a great time. It's been some of the best times I've ever had in business, and it wouldn't be this way if I didn't have your support. So I just want to thank you all for everybody who supported me, and I'm going to keep asking for the support, and hopefully, we can just eradicate some of this entrepreneurial burnout that we experience and suffer from, and yeah, just make business a little bit easier and a little bit better for the small business owners out there. So thanks a lot, guys, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.